Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's episode of Sadlier School Live. My name is Camberley Woods, and I'm really happy that we're bringing back on Sarah Ressler-Wright, aka Vocab Gal. Hi, Sarah.
Hi, Camberley.
Thank you for being here with us today. And we want to thank all of you who are here with us today, whether you're watching live or maybe you are watching the replay. If you are joining us today, then let us know by leaving a chat in the comments so that Sarah and I can say a warm hello back to you. So today's episode, we are going to be walking through some great springtime activities that will get students writing at home. And these are some fun activities that you can integrate into your daily routine as a way to help your little learners or your bigger learners learn more about writing. So Sarah's going to walk us through a lot of these different activities. And I see we have someone here on Zoom, Denny. Hello, Denny. Thank you for joining us today. The different activities that we're going to be walking through today, we actually have a whole article that has rounded up all of the activities for you in one spot. So I'm going to be dropping a link to that in the chat on Facebook Live, and I'll also do that here on Zoom.
All right, shall I go ahead and get us going? All right, Camberley. So this is the English language arts blog that I turn to all the time, both obviously because I'm writing blog posts, but also because I use them with my own students and classes. And so I just wanted to walk you through today's lesson is about grammar, and the word grammar still intimidates me sometimes as an English teacher and librarian. I think, oh, grammar, I don't know it well enough, and I think often our students feel intimidated as well. But the idea of springtime and cheerfulness and hopefully getting outside a little bit, these should make it a little less anxiety-ridden and a little more fun. So with these 6 printable grammar spring activities, and again, we had an earlier episode where Camberley and I talked about how if your students don't have printers, you can certainly have them use a PDF version of this that you're getting, and then they can edit it on that PDF and send it back to you. And that way,
so glad you brought that up, Sarah. I will try to grab a link to that video while we are live today, and I'll drop a link to that in the chat as well. So if any of you are interested in how to digitally hack these, you can reference that video.
Thanks, Camberley. I find right now we don't have to print very much. And so the more that your students can digitally send things to and from, the more that you know that they're learning. And
yeah,
so,
Sarah, have you officially ordered another ream of copy paper?
That is an excellent question. We did send the husband when he went grocery shopping, he picked up that ream. So it wasn't as expensive as getting it online, but it was close. So speaking of that, and then of course my daughter printed out extra copies of the worksheet she was using just in case. Come on,
back up now.
That's right. All right, so the #1 spring activity is an acrostic poem, which I love. Fun fact, I actually won in, I think, 7th grade, the poetry category of the acrostic. So I always have an affinity for this type of poem more than anything else. Also, it's just fun and easy.
You know what? You should be claiming that title. So
victory was mine in 7th grade. It's the only prize I've ever won, but it's fine. And so here, clearly, I love this. The graphics team at Sadlier does such a great job. And so this spells out spring. And Camberley, you and I were chatting earlier about how do you do acrostic poems with your children?
Yeah, I was just mentioning to Sarah that we did this activity last week because I have younger elementary aged children, and at home we pulled out our sidewalk chalks and we did our own acrostic poem there on the driveway. So if you are lacking reams of paper or maybe ink, that could be another alternative if you have some sidewalk chalk or crayons on a piece of paper.
So true. And we've got lots of ways, and we're really trying to do a lot of crafts at home, just coloring things. And we've got lots of extra scrap paper from the backs of all those handouts. And so this is a great way to just make your own. You don't even have to print it out and make up your own words. Obviously, it doesn't have to be the word spring. So then, of course, it's also April, which is Poetry Month. So the more poetry you can get in, and again, grammar is intimidating. Poetry can be intimidating. So both of these together are quite easily accessible, which is important.
Sarah, in lines with the Poetry Month, you also wrote an article for the ELA blog where you have a roundup of those different activities they could do, and I'll drop that here in the chat as well.
Thanks. It is Poetry Month, and I do love poetry activities when they're fun and playful. And so that's a really good way to do it. An acrostic poem, again, my favorite, my favorite style. All right, so then this is really fun. Number 2 is the contraction flowers, which is, this is an idea. This is not my idea. This is Tiffany's idea. And so the idea that we assemble colorful blooms at home to identify words that form contractions. And so then you can cut them out and make them, or you can certainly use whatever scraps of paper you have lying around. And so you can see some really fun downloads that you can hack, etc. All right. So my third one is the spring writing activity, the writing prompts. And so we've got lots of great writing prompts and creations here. And Camberley, every day we're posting a new writing prompt, correct?
Yes, every day on social media. Well, not on the weekends. So every weekday on social media, we post a daily writing prompt to our Facebook and our Instagram accounts, as well as a daily vocabulary word. So you can always access those accounts for inspiration.
Awesome. And so then here you see that we're getting into May Day and Mother's Day. And hey, May is National Hamburger Month. And that Impossible Burger for the vegetarians like myself, I'm sure you can talk about all the ways that the Impossible Burger is equally delicious, if not more delicious than the actual meat patty.
Sarah, I want to interrupt really quickly. Yeah. 2 comments. One, we have Andrea watching live on Facebook. Hello, Andrea. Thanks for being here today. We've done work with her in the past and she's amazing. And we also have a comment here in Zoom from Denny, and she's saying, I have K2 exceptional learners that struggle with writing. So I don't know if you have any ideas for her, Sarah, about what she could do to maybe get those students writing more.
Yeah, and writing is hard. I mean, it is hard on a lot of levels, the motor skill version, the processing. And then so I feel like this, to make it fun for me, I would like to do kind of you write a sentence, then I write a sentence, or even word by word, kind of going back and forth.
Or I've even seen it where moms and kids will almost like journal back and forth to each other, almost like you have a secret notebook in school. And so you're asking them a question and responding, and then back and forth, and you could toss a book back and forth like that.
Oh, I like that too. And obviously the talking works well. And so if you are having a dialogue with someone and say, okay, this is what you need to write down for your teacher, for your lesson. I'm going to write down 2 of the 3 sentences. So if, you know, the assignment is to write down 3 or 4 sentences about the reading they've done for the day. If they are exceptional learners, it is quite fine for them to tell you those sentences and then say, okay, you're going to tell them out loud to me. I'm going to write down the first 2, and then I'm going to ask that you write down the 3rd one.
Yes, and I love that because I have exceptional learners that are doing that same thing at home. And so a lot of times I kind of walk them through their response. So if we're going to be creating a story with a beginning, middle, and end, let's first map that out. Let's talk about what that writing is going to look like, and then we can start working on actually forming those sentences.
Perfect. And please, if there's more questions and comments, we want them. I love answering questions. I do. So then the planting a pronoun garden, again, what a fun idea that basically you create a garden with pronouns. And again, I think this would be great for sidewalk chalk and for artistic expression.
Ooh, I love that, doing a little garden on your sidewalk.
And we like to walk around our neighborhood when it's warm. It's not as warm as it is where you are right now. So we're going to bundle up if we go on a walk and see what kind of sidewalk chalk art there is today. And then our final activity is about revision. And
there's 2 more, I think.
Oh, okay, good.
But they both have to do with revision.
Right. So our last ones are revision. And so for this one and for the next one, Camberley and I were talking about, this one is for a Mother's Day letter. And so Ellen writes her mother about the trip to the Statue of Liberty. And then the idea is that your students can revise that and rewrite it. This is a great starting point. And then if you want to say, hey, I'm going to write a couple more sentences, or if you want to write it about something more personal, or you don't want to write to your mother, you want to write to a friend, you as the educator can write a note and say, hey, I'm writing to my pet, or I'm writing to my far-flung cousin. And you can write that note and then obviously add in the errors and say, okay, I've made some mistakes. See if you can stump me, see if you can catch all the errors. And then you write back to me and then do the same thing. I have a couple embedded errors and see if I can catch your errors. So kind of going back and forth and making it personal. And I know that I was on a call earlier with my all the department chairs at my school. And the number one issue that teachers are having right now, from what I'm hearing, is the idea that they're not getting responses from students. And so what tends to work best is having this individual one-on-one discussion and having some personal communication in terms of tell me about your day, or tell me about your pets, or tell me about a win that you've had this week. And so this can be a really fun personal communication, whereas revising a letter from a mother or from a daughter to a mother may not engage your students. But if you can say, hey, I wrote a note to my male person about what a great job they're doing, and then can you write a letter to your male person right back? So Camberley, thoughts on that? What are we thinking here?
No, I love that idea. And I love just there's so many ways that you can take these activities and adapt them to really work for you, or use them as a way to inspire you. Just like we've said, maybe it's incorporating some sidewalk chalk, or maybe it's talking things through a little bit more with your learners, or maybe it's writing and you're, being a pen pal, stuff like that. And so we love to hear ideas and suggestions from all of you too, because that's where we get a lot of these somewhat bright ideas. So if you have anything that you're doing at home with either your learners or your students, then let us know in the chat, because we would love to give you a shout out and also talk to you about what you do to help engage them.
Absolutely. And I was thinking in terms of the sidewalk chalk, and if you ask students to do something that is more visual, I know that one of our English teachers had talked about how the first assignment he gave to his students was take a picture, send it to me of something you're doing. And he said that visual communication, especially our older students, are so used to snapping photos and communicating visually that asking them to do something with sidewalk chalk or asking them to do an image might really appeal to them, and they are much more likely potentially to send you a picture back than necessarily, like we talk about, sometimes the exceptional learners don't want to write.
Yep. And you're cracking me up, because a couple of days ago, I told my daughter that I needed to make a telephone call. And she's like, a telephone call? Like, we're used to like everything is FaceTime, everything is images, everything is like video, that she's just like, well, what do you mean by a telephone call? I'm like, okay, this is weird. So yes, I agree with like, let's meet the kids where they're at and try to incorporate like ways of communication that they'll actually get excited about doing. So thanks for sharing those ideas. And thanks for all of you for watching today. We are so grateful for the community here. Drop a line, let us know you are here, say hello on the chat so we can say hello back to you. And we will be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 o'clock Pacific, and we hope to see you there. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Thanks.
Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.